All right, well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Connection Hangout. Tonight is the Diamond Connection. Now, before I bring on tonight's special guest, let me go and introduce my co-host out there in Marietta, Georgia, David Asarno. How are you doing, David?
I am doing awesome, Paul. How are you today?
Doing fantastic. Just a little exhausted coming off of this Las Vegas regional this past weekend. It was great to see the attendees and all of the folks that turned out, and some great training. It was really super days of Las Vegas regional.
Fantastic.
You said you avoided this whole superstorm thing. I know we had to cancel one of our regionals there on the East Coast, but you're
Charlotte got hit a lot worse than we did. We had the big fear of the superstorm, and it fizzled out with the sunshine on Saturday.
Kind of just stopped there. Huh? I know we had there was one person on the charge-up call this morning who was actually like packed in her house. They were thinking they hadn't dug their way out of it yet. So.
Oh yeah, up in the Northeast they got dumped on. My mom got over 2 feet of snow.
Ouch. It's good if you're in a ski resort, but not when you're in your house, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. As a reminder for everyone out there, Connection Hangout. This is not a product or a business presentation. So if you'd like more information on ASEA or the technology of ASEA Redox Supplement or Renew 28 Skin Gel, please get back to the person who invited you to be on this Hangout. Some of you also may have a more info button under your screen. If so, click on that as soon as we're wrapped up here. Okay, well, I want to jump right into tonight's guest, because very special guest. Let me go ahead and introduce him. Alan Noble is a triple diamond executive with ASEA. He is one of the Diamond founders. He is also the inaugural recipient of the I Am ASEA Award. He is the chairman of the ASEA Global Advisory Council, a member of the $1 Million Club. Please join me in welcoming Alan Noble. Welcome, Alan.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Thanks, David. It's great to be in the hot seat tonight.
Love it. Super great to have you aboard. Now, first off, a little bit of history for folks out there, our viewers. Maybe some of you are new to ASEA. Alan Noble was instrumental at helping to get ASEA off the ground. When I actually first came aboard ASEA back in October of 2009, it was Alan's PowerPoint presentations that we all used to help to get things rocking. And once again, whenever I get an opportunity, I like to publicly thank Alan for that and all he's done to help all of the ASEA associates in the company in its entirety. So thank you so much, Alan. Appreciate that. And to kick things off, I was wondering if you could start us off by sharing how you originally found out about ASEA and what the early days were like, even before I got there.
The early days, the pre-launch days.
Yeah.
Well, hey, look, it really is a pleasure and a privilege to be on this hangout with you guys. You do a fantastic job with these hangouts. I've been able to tune into a bunch of them, and always a lot of fun, great information. So thank you for this service for ASEA. You know, the early days. Look, here's my story. I'd been around the network marketing industry for a while. I went into it at 23 years of age, and we can talk about this maybe a little bit later. But I backed out of the industry, and what I was looking for in ASEA was something for my dad. My dad had got sick with a pretty serious health challenge, and I knew at an early age that our bodies have an amazing ability to heal. If you feed your body the right resources, your body can do amazing things. And so with my dad getting these challenges, I went on a very aggressive search to find something that could really tap into and harness that healing power that lives in all of us. And, you know, I was going around the usual search of vitamins and minerals and very powerful antioxidants and all of these other things. And I called somebody that I have a tremendous amount of respect for in their knowledge for the human body. And, of course, that's Sue Brenchley. And I called Sue and I said, Sue, this is what's going on. And I was actually asking her about another product that we both had some experience with. And she said to me, hold on, there's something even better coming. And I said, well, what is it? And she said, I can't tell you. And she said, the company hasn't really launched yet, but I'm meeting with some doctors, et cetera, et cetera. And so I let it go. And about 2 weeks later, I remember calling Sue again. I said, hey, Sue, if you know something, you got to tell me. This is not about business. I was busy building a financial services company in Denver, Colorado at the time. I said, this is not about business. This is personal. If you know something, you got to tell me. And so for the first time in my life, I heard the words redox signaling molecules. And I think when people hear those words, they never forget those 3 words. And I can still remember to this day exactly where I was standing. I remember it was a Thursday in late May of 2009. I was standing out in the patio of my apartment, and I heard these words redox signaling. And, you know, we hadn't really got down a good explanation of what they were. Usually the more we talked, the more confusing it was to people. But I realized that this was something way different to your vitamins, your minerals, your exotic juices, all these ingredient-based products. This was something native to the body. And it just sparked my interest. I realized I was hearing something that I'd never heard in 20 years of being interested in natural health. And so 5 days later, I got on a plane, flew to Salt Lake City on my own dime. We didn't have fly-ins or anything like that. And I flew to Salt Lake City, and I was fortunate to spend the day with Vertus Norton and James Pack, the original founders of ASEA, Dr. Gary Samuelson, our atomic medical physicist, and the only 2 executives in the entire company, Kurt Richards and Justin Wilson. That was it. That was the crew. And I remember just sitting around the table. And I don't know, you know, I got it. To me, it was just so easy to grasp. Molecules that help the cells function better. Molecules that are foundational to cellular efficiency. And, you know, I've never really understood the complexity. It was simple, so foundational. And so I got so excited about it. I realized I was hearing something of tremendous power. As I learned more about the genesis of ASEA, and talking to Vertus and Jim, that they had made this huge multi-million-dollar sacrifice to, you know, to take on these molecules and bring them to the public the way we're doing it. And I was floored. I was absolutely floored. And so I went back to Denver at the time. I told my wife about it. She said, "Here we go again." But she started drinking the molecules. My wife had all sorts of challenges in her lower backs and hips after the birth of my first daughter. And for 10 months after the birth, she had had this discomfort in her back and hips. And all I can tell you is she drank the ASEA the Wednesday in the morning, and then later on that day, she took about 4 ounces. She woke up Thursday morning, 0 discomfort.
Wow.
A challenge she had had for 10 months. And that's where I kind of got this analogy of, hey, this is the electricity that lights up the light bulb. Because I was coming home with all these light bulbs. Hey, try the Home Depot light bulb. Here, try the Lowe's light bulb. Here, got a really expensive Neiman Marcus light bulb. But she didn't have a light bulb problem, she had a power problem. And I came home with the power supply. She had an absolute life-changing experience with this technology in 24 hours. And of course, I started shipping it back to my dad. He was probably the first guy in Ireland to drink the molecules. I'm guessing that. And 4 months later, my father was given a clean bill of health in his situation. And so this technology has, really impacted our family at a profound level. And that's only just kind of touching the surface. But that's how it all started, Paul. That's where it all began.
Fantastic.
So how did it go from, Alan, how did it go from, your wife saying, there we go again, I heard you said you were 23 years old, you were in the network marketing industry, and then you packed it in, and by the way, I had a similar experience when my wife said, don't you ever do that again. And how did you go from, you were building a financial services company to now, hey, I'm a full-time network marketer with ASEA. How did that transition happen?
So what happened, just to back a little bit, when I have a degree in international finance from Queen's University, Belfast. I'm from Belfast, famous city in Europe, famous city in Ireland, famous for all the wrong reasons. Okay, but I graduated with my degree. I actually graduated top of my class in that degree, and I don't say that in any way to boast or brag, because I never did anything with it. But I remember just graduating with this degree, and all my class were super excited about going for these interviews. And I went for one job interview, and it was an interview, Paul, one of your favorite companies, Guinness. Okay.
Yeah.
I have the glass, but it's only got water in it.
Yeah.
So I went down to St. James's Gate, Dublin, for an interview as a management accountant in Guinness. And I got through to about the third level of interviews because I'd done a lot of travel. I'm also a classical musician, so I had loads of stuff on my resume. And I got through to this, and the interview went great. And I'll never forget them saying to me, "Do you have any questions for us?" They were really happy, things were going well. And the interview was kind of in the inner sanctum of the Guinness property. It was like the mahogany walls with all of the oil paintings, you know, the Guinness family. And I remember this incredible feeling of just being so claustrophobic. And something deep down stirred in me. It was this nausea. And it was only years later I found the term psychologically unemployable. But that's what was niggling at me. I was psychologically unemployable. And I'll never forget this job interview, everything going great. They're saying, "Alan, this is fantastic. Do you have any questions for us?" And I remember putting my hands on the table, slapping them down, standing up and said, "No, I think we're just about done here." And I walked out of my first and my last job interview in my entire career. So then what was I going to do? I was psychologically unemployable, and so I do what everybody does. They put a backpack on and they go try and find themselves. So I traveled around. I traveled 22 countries in Africa, from the top to the very bottom of Africa, and saw amazing things, sat with the mountain gorillas, microlite over Victoria Falls, and just some amazing experiences. But I came back none the wiser. I didn't find myself. So I did what everyone else then does, is they get on the academic treadmill, and I started a master's in finance. And I was just into the master's in finance. I had just started it, week one, when I was handed a book called The Boom Business of the 90s. And this book explained this industry of network marketing. And it started to explain the concepts of leveraged income, the ability to earn beyond yourself. It began to explain the concepts of residual income, the ability to do the work once but get paid over and over and over again. And I got to tell you, all of a sudden I saw my future. This is what I wanted to do. In that heartbeat, in that moment, this was what I wanted to do. This was the industry. They never taught me any of this stuff in finance degrees. And so that is when the journey began. And I'm going to I was going to say I was going to cut a long story short, but I think it's too late at this point. It's already a long story. But I was with my very first network marketing company for about 7 years, and I learned a lot. I had great training. We had some great success in that company. But to kind of fast forward, I then dabbled in other companies, and there came this point in my career where I just got tired of the circus. I call it a circus. There were two things I couldn't find. I could not find an exceptional, unique product. You know, there's a lot of good products out there. There's even some great products out there, but there are very, very few truly exceptional products. One of a kind. I wanted to go tell a story that had never been told before. You know, this was at the time when the exotic juices, you know, the mangosteens, the acais, the Himalayan blackcurrant, this blueberry, this, that, and the other, you know, it was like the fruit of the month club. There were over 80 network marketing companies peddling exotic juices, and everybody's juice was better than the last one. It was like, my daddy can beat up your daddy game. And it just was a circus. It was exhausting. And so I withdrew from the industry. The other thing I was looking for is I couldn't find a company I could trust. Anytime you've got a lot of money to be made, whether it's in corporate or in the field, greed can set in. Shortcuts can set in, lack of integrity can set in, and I had to find not just the exceptional product, the story that had never been told, but I had to find a company I could trust. And for almost 8 years, 7 or 8 years, I just withdrew from the industry. There was nothing in there that got my attention. And it was only when I made this trip to Salt Lake City and I sat down and shook the hands of Vertus Norton and learned about this powerful technology that the world had never seen before. That is the first time in 7 or 8 years that the two things I was looking for came together, and that was then the beginning of that journey. And so not only, you once you fall in love with this industry, it's hard to get it out of your system. And when you find the right vehicle, you realize it, and you grab it with both hands and you run with it. So not only did I, get some product and start giving it to my wife and shipping it home to my dad, but I realized this was the opportunity I'd been looking for, the search that I started 20 years earlier. So that's a little bit of kind of the background in network marketing.
So yeah, you've had experience. I think a lot of us, like you said, from whether the company have talented, integrity, leadership, with a good product. You very rarely, and again, the C is really I found that have in place as well. So kind of a road to get to that point.
Well, our CEO Chuck Funky, he says something very, very smart. Chuck, I hope you're watching this because I'm going to give you some kudos. So here's what he says. He says anyone can build a company fast. And a lot of times in this industry, people are bedazzled by the bottle rockets, as we call them. There's barely a bottle rocket in this industry that has ever stood the test of time. And as Chuck says, you can pull the levers in a company to make it grow fast, but that doesn't mean it's stable. That doesn't mean it's legacy. And certainly for me, look, I was tired of dating in the industry. I wanted to settle down till death do us part. And I was looking for my last great rodeo in this industry. And I had to find a company that was more obsessed about building a legacy, being here 10, 20, 30 years from now, than they were about, hey, how fast can we grow right now today? Because we've seen those companies come and go. And so, this company does a lot of they do the right things for the right reasons. Anyway, that's just a little sidetrack.
Perfect. This last week we had the regionals that I mentioned here in Las Vegas. In my session, I kind of mentioned that most people get involved for various reasons, but the main thread is I think we want to have freedom. We want to be able to control and own our own life, and be able to set our own schedule, spend time with family and loved ones. When we want to travel, maybe have a nicer car, give back to the community, whatever that is. What has a sense of freedom meant for you with all the success you've had? It allowed me to lend you that $100 that you owe me, but no, I'm only joking. Freedom, that's what it's about. This nausea, these butterflies that I felt in my gut, this idea that I was psychologically unemployable. It's not that I'm lazy. I mean, Paul, you and I know, David, to build this thing, the early days, sometimes as pioneers, we were up till midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I remember doing phone calls in Ireland at 2 o'clock in the morning with the team in America. It's nothing about laziness. It's not looking for the path of least resistance. It's not about that. It's about that freedom, about living life on your terms because you decide to do it. And, for me, I've always just been psychologically unemployable. I don't want someone to tell me when to clock in, when to clock out, when I can take my vacation, how long that vacation has to be, maybe even sometimes where I have to work. The company now wants me, to now live in this part of the world or that part of the world and just uproot everything. I want that freedom to choose. It's my choice. And so to give you an example, just because I work at home, I don't sit in rush hour traffic. I hate traffic. And, the only time you'll catch me in traffic is when I have to take an early flight, maybe to advisory council or to a convention or to a meeting or something like that. I got to maybe take that flight in the morning, and I see just all the traffic on the roads because normally I don't experience it. And I'm going, what on earth are all these people doing on the roads at this time? This makes no sense. I mean, I thought at first it was a welcoming party for me. I thought they were like cheering me on. It was a parade or something to the airport. I can't believe that people do this every single day for 30, 40 years of their life. What a waste of life. There's no freedom in that. And so that's just one example. Not my commute is from the bedroom to the office.
and I'd pass the kitchen with some snacks on the way, you know. And so another thing, freedom. Look, obviously being from Ireland, I still love, you know, we've got four sets of my kids have four sets of grandparents out there. Well, I guess two sets of grandparents, four total. Let's just be clear. You know, so it's important that they go back home to their roots. It's important they see, you know, where they came from and spend their time with their cousins and spend time with their grandparents. But that costs money. I don't know if you've checked the price of an international flight recently, but you imagine a, you know, family of four every Christmas, every summer making that trek from Dallas back to Ireland. You better have some cash in the bank to be able to do that. Now, here's the other thing. It amazes me when people find out I'm from Ireland. They will say, "Oh, Ireland. I'd love to go to Ireland." You know, everybody's Irish, you know, at least on St. Patrick's Day. Even you're Irish on St. Patrick's Day. You know, everybody, and look, because they love this connection, and it's always, I'd love to go to Ireland. I can tell you hundreds of conversations I've had with people that truly do have this burning desire to go to Ireland. And when I say to them, well, why haven't you? Always the same two reasons. I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough time. Because you can have all the money in the world but no time, or you can have all the time in the world and no money. This industry is one of those rare industries that allows you to get that balance right. It allows you to get it right so you can start to live life on your terms. And so that's what freedom is. It's been able to choose how to live your life without somebody dictating to you. The other side of it is, in this industry, there's no ceiling in your income. The number of sales reps that I've heard recently that are having their quotas increased and their commissions decreased, and they're working twice as hard to maybe sometimes earn half as much. I'm hearing it more and more and more as corporate America's putting the squeeze on them. Our comp plan doesn't change. You know, there's no ceiling. I don't get a call from Vertus or Chuck and they don't say, hey, you're making a little bit too much money. We're going to change your compensation plan. It doesn't work like that. We can just keep on earning, keep on earning, keep on earning. So there's huge freedom in this industry, not just financially, but also time-wise, which is an incredible blessing in our lives, anyone that gets to experience.
Awesome. Hey, Alan, you brought up a bunch of things about, you've got an international business. We know that. And there's a lot of people, and we actually had a pre-talk before the call, and people want to build an overseas business, and they're enamored with it, and people overseas want to build over in the U.S. What kind of lessons will you tell these people that want to go build abroad?
Well, first of all, I think you've got to experience jet lag flying from Sydney to Dallas. That took me about 2 weeks to get over that, baby. Europe to America is bad enough, but man, Australia to America was tough. Look, I don't want to. It's important that we have a global business. We've got to be able to expand globally. And I often talk about the three most important aspects of network marketing: residual income to earn beyond yourself, leveraged income to earn beyond yourself, residual income to earn repetitively over and over and over again. And then there's a third dynamic that's certainly come into play now that we're connected with the internet and technology like this, and that's this idea of global income. And where that becomes powerful is you can start to build not just a leveraged income, not just a residual income, but actually a 24/7 income. And so if you've got a business in Australia, a business in Europe, a business in North America, guess what? Your business never sleeps. It never sleeps. You're asleep, but somewhere in the world, somebody's using a SIA, Renew 28, talking about it, building their business. And so it's nice to have that international business. But I think sometimes people get a little bit enamored, and honestly, it's the faraway fields are green idea. Everybody thinks their own backyard is the hardest to build in. Well, if everybody thinks that, it means it can't be true. But it's true. Everybody will say, "Oh, well, you don't understand. It's really tough here." But everybody says the same thing. "Oh, well, you don't understand. It's really tough here." Well, look, here's what it's all about. It's all about leadership. The business grows wherever the leader is. The business appears when the leader appears. And I always recommend you build local. You will naturally expand national. and you will over time go global. But in order to go global, leadership becomes even more important, because unless you're there with them, that person really needs to have that pioneer attitude to establish that market. They've got to have really, really strong leadership, and those people are like eagles. They fly solo. They're not the easiest to find. And so if you look at the areas that have, if you look at the teams that are building and some of the leaders that are really developing in Australia, in Mexico, in Europe, there's a strong pioneer that is driving that business. So the short answer is build local. Build in your own backyard. It's where you can touch the business much easier than any other way. And then let it expand. Let it just grow naturally and organically. Don't try and force it into a country because you think it's kind of exotic. You know, it's a tough build that way.
Great advice.
Thank you.
Great advice. In the spirit of Tyler's booklet that was mentioned on this last month's or this current month's In Touch call, he wrote this booklet that said everything you always wanted to know from the top producers but were afraid to ask. Along that lines, if someone came up to you at a convention, let's say, Alan, this May, and asked you for one piece of information that you could give to them to create success with ASEA, what would that be?
One piece.
One thing. You only have
can I give you one piece split into 3 parts? Because I really do. I mean, when somebody has this conversation and we meet them at convention and they'll grab onto you and say, "Hey, I just got started. What's the one piece of advice you can give me?" If somebody is brand new, if somebody's brand new and they have never been in this industry before, I tell them, don't take this opportunity lightly. Don't take it for granted. Companies like ASEA do not come along very often. It took me 20 years to find it. I mean, this is just not a run-of-the-mill company, a run-of-the-mill product, a run-of-the-mill experience, run-of-the-mill culture. This is such a unique place to be, and it doesn't come along very often. And I think sometimes if people don't have that experience, and I sometimes, you got to kiss a few frogs to find your princess. And if you haven't kissed the frogs, then you don't really appreciate the princess. And ASEA is the princess. And so, hey, it's great that maybe somebody hasn't experienced the good, bad, and the ugly of this industry beforehand, and they maybe don't have that baggage coming into this company. But on the other side, the danger is they don't know how unique and how special ASEA truly is. And so that's the first thing. Don't take this for granted. If the person has had previous network marketing experience and they've kissed a few frogs and maybe still have the taste of frog in their mouth, then my other advice is make sure you get plugged in. Get plugged in. Get connected. We're coals in the fire. And a coal by itself is totally useless. It's only when the coals are gathered together and put into that fire that they can actually provide some heat, some flames. There's power behind that. There's not a lot of power behind one piece of coal. It's that idea, the old acronym TEAM. Together, everyone achieves more. Well, I was trying to think what the opposite of team was. I like to train on opposites. I like to train, well, if this is the good, what's the bad? And so team, together, everyone achieves more. We all remember the A-Team, Mr. T. And what was his catchphrase? I forget now.
Pity the fool.
Pity the fool. So, you got Mr. T and the A-Team and all of that. And A-teams work really, really well in network marketing. The coals coming together work well in network marketing. What doesn't work so well are the lone warriors. Now you think of the lone warrior, Rambo, Sylvester Stallone, shooting his way through the jungle. He's the lone warrior. And, I was trying to come up with an acronym. My wife, Tanya, helped me with this one. Rambo stands for Rarely Achieve Much by Oneself. Okay? Rarely achieve much by oneself. It just doesn't work. This is a team sport. And so if somebody's had some experience, my advice to them is get plugged in, get connected, get on the charge up call in the mornings. Listen to these hangouts that you've been doing. Plug into the company events, go to the regionals, get to convention, If you don't, that coal is going to go out. It's going to die. You know, it's going to go cold. Coal cannot stay heated by itself, and so you got to move it back in. And when we go to these places, what happens is when we get connected, it fires us up, not just in a hot bath of motivation, but there's something deeper than that. We begin to grow the two foundational roots that are so important in this business, and that's the root of desire. What do you want? How badly do you want it? And the root of belief. How strongly do you believe in the product, in the technology, in the company, in yourself, in the industry? And as you get connected and as you keep plugged in, you stay in the game long enough until you develop that belief, long enough until you learn to get out of your own way. You know, these are the things that are important. So a brand newbie, don't take it for granted. Someone who's had a little bit of experience and kissed a few frogs, get plugged in, get connected, stay connected. That's my advice.
Awesome. Well, any final thoughts, and what are you excited most about in 2016?
Oh, in one word, growth. Look, this is the, as we kind of look back, and it's been an amazing journey. I can't believe it'll be 7 years this May. It's just amazing. Time has flown. But as we look back at the different stages of the growth, we are in a sweet spot that we've never really experienced before. I call it the golden window of opportunity. We're at this post-risk, pre-momentum place. You know, the fact is there's a lot of times serious professionals, serious entrepreneurs don't tend to take this business seriously until a company reaches a certain standard. It's almost like they've got to come of age. You know, they got to hit that in adult terms, that 18 years of age. And for us, that's at that 5-year mark. There's something magical about the 5-year mark. A lot of companies don't make 5 years. We also recognize that in this industry, there's something magical about hitting $100 million a year. And you know, we're now over 5 years old. We're not an experiment. The product's not an experiment. It's proven. The comp plan's proven. The manufacturing's proven. Our executive team's proven. I mean, everything's proven. We're solid. But we haven't yet hit our full stride. We're edging closer and closer to that $100 million year mark. And this is a really critical year. 2016, I believe, is the year to get us to that $100 million a year mark where things start to go vertical. And in this industry, of course, we call that momentum. And when you start hitting momentum and all the pieces of the puzzle fall into place, everything just starts going crazy. So we're in this pre-momentum, post-risk phase. It'll only ever happen one time in our company's history. And I believe this is the year. This is the year for enrollments. We've got to develop a culture of enrollments this year and a culture of rank advancements. And we do that, then we start really moving into the second big phase of growth. And so, look, if somebody's listening to this and maybe they're saying, "Man, you were May 2009. I wish I was in the early days." Well, Paul, tell them. Why do you think I'm gray? You know, it's you know, this is the golden time, not the early days. You don't want to be in the basement. You see, there's ground floor and then there's basement. The basement can be a dark and lonely place. So you know, we pioneered through that, we battled through that, but really this is the time when the effort you put forth will give even a greater reward than it did for me even 5-6 years ago. So I'm just really, really excited where we're going. I think we are, as I said, we have an exceptional company. We're building, our sights are set on being a legacy company, not just a flash in the pan, not just a bottle rocket, but truly something that is going to stand the test of time. And to think that we're just the beginning of what I believe is going to be a 20-25 year journey and beyond is still very, very exciting. I mean, think about it. I've been telling this story for 6.5 years, and I still don't get tired of it. I still don't get tired of it. I start talking about these molecules and this technology and this opportunity, and I get as fired up as I was way back in the summer of '09. So When you can still be excited about something 6.5 years later, you know you've got something exceptional.
Fantastic. Super. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Alan. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, guys. Pleasure being here.
And real quick, for everyone out there, Alan has a brand new live opportunity webinar at 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, which is 9 o'clock on the East Coast, every Wednesday. And you can tune into that at discoverasia.com. Again, discoverasia.com. We encourage you to build for that. Again, we do this Connection Hangout in this time slot, but this is recorded. But your priority number one is to get new people enrolled in your business. So focus on that, and you can always come back and watch the recording of Connection Hangout at your leisure. I want to also thank my co-host there in Marietta, Georgia. Thanks, David Asarno.
My pleasure, Paul, and thank you for putting everything together as you do every week.
Absolutely. Very welcome. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Go out and have a fantastic rest of your evening, rest of the week, and I'll see you later. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you.